Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much, FemInno, for the opportunity to take part in such an inspiring event and for giving me the chance to visit this beautiful country. This is my first time here. Over the past few years, I traveled the world talking about the importance of gender equality. Female empowerment has been a hot topic. There are people who believe that since we are now talking about the systemic oppression of women, since we broke the silence around the abuse, the violence, the double standards, our job is nearly done. Those people don't understand that the full liberation of women won't happen until we overthrow the patriarchal system. And that is impossible to overthrow centuries of patriarchal domination with just a few conversations. They don't understand that these conversations are just the tip of a much bigger iceberg. If we want to overthrow the patriarchy, we can't just scratch the surface of that iceberg, because we're not here to make shaved ice. We are here to change the world. I am tired of discussing gender equality with a cherry on top kind of mentality. First, I was repeatedly told, we need to solve all the other problems, then the serious ones. Then, when everything else is done, we can talk about gender equality. The main problem with the cherry on top approach is the assumption that if women participated in public life as much as men, they would do the exact same things that men are doing. They would offer the same kind of solutions to the big challenges of our time that men are offering. In this view, which is the view of the majority of people, gender equality is merely an ethical and a cosmetic issue. We simply want to see more women doing stuff, managing things, but we don't care. We don't stop to think about the content, the outcomes, the potential outcomes of that participation. This is the patriarchal interpretation of gender equality. In this view, another world is simply impossible. In this view, all that we can hope for is for women to become a more active part of the existing system. The patriarchal system feeds itself on the lie that there are no alternatives to it. For this reason, it is set to eliminate anyone and anything that is different. Through slavery, colonization, wars, discriminatory laws, it oppressed people of color, disabled people, LGBT people, and it erased entire civilizations. But alternatives do exist. They have always existed. We just need the will to look at them. And that will is really rare to find. In my small experience as a single person, as an entrepreneur, I myself have read and shared hundreds of times those kind of articles that reassure investors that companies funded by men give better returns. I myself shared it a lot, and by the way, it is true. But at one point, I started to question the nature of those articles. I started asking myself, am I doing all of this just to offer investors better returns? Recently, I started thinking that those articles were a way to reassure investors of the fact that despite being a woman, I could and would do the exact same things that a male entrepreneur would do. I am tired, though, of having to reassure investors that I will do the same things that my male counterparts would do. Because the reason why I am an entrepreneur is to try something radically different, to think and act differently, to explore every inch of my difference as a woman, as a queer person, as a lesbian, and to see where it leads. I never became an entrepreneur to obey someone else's rules. I didn't become an entrepreneur to follow a script, to let someone else decide what success looked like. When Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls became a smashing success on Kickstarter, one of the biggest publishers in the world offered us a $1 million advance to buy the publishing rights for the book. For two unknown authors, it was huge. It meant not only that we would make a lot of money, it also meant that we would be christened as legit authors by virtue of the fact that an established publisher, one of the gatekeepers, was paying that kind of money for us, saying that we were worth it. In the world of publishing, real authors sign with big publishers. It's only the lame ones that self-publish. But as long as we look for the blessing of the establishment, we will be held hostages. We didn't sell the rights, and we built our publishing company while touring the world as the authors of that book. It was fun and brutal. We went from 0 to $28 million in revenues in just 2 years. Not that lame. I became an entrepreneur to make my own rules, to discover what it means to make choices that are contrary to common sense, choices that reflect, honor, and magnify my difference, and in doing so, reflect, honor, and magnify the difference of other underrepresented individuals. This is what Undercuts, my new company, is about. Our mission is to radically increase diversity in children's media and to inspire families around the world to take action for equality. I want more than what they think I should eventually get. For many people, the aspiration to see more women holding a position of power in the private or public sector is enough. While a wider participation of women in public life is crucial, in my opinion, that is not the goal. The goal is the dismissal of a system that is rooted in oppression and that sees violence and the predatory relationship with the environment as crucial to its survival. The mindless accumulation of wealth, the constant quest for ways to dominate other people, other countries, other markets, the obsession with speed, the illusion of control are making us and our planet sick. I am critical about the many and almost ubiquitous female empowerment initiatives that simply encourage women to follow in the footsteps of men. Gender equality, my friends, is not the cherry on top. It is the cherry bomb. The starting point to build a better, stronger, healthier, more sustainable future for ourselves, women and men, and our planet. We are not the ones who need to be empowered. We need society to empower itself so that it can see us, and in doing so, so that it can finally unlock the full potential of collective power. We must be seen not just for our similarities with men and with their world, but for our differences. It's easy to believe that our goal is to climb the social, economical, political ladder, but this interpretation of equality lacks ambition. If we truly believe in equality, we mustn't fight to climb a ladder that was built to enforce the idea that human beings are more or less valuable based on the amount of resources they were able to amass. Instead, we must get rid of the ladder. We must discern which of our desires were planted in us by a system that is destroying our planet and that continues to create massive inequality, and which desires are instead truly our own. We can't play by the rules, because the rules in place were established to diffuse our potential. When we talk about gender equality, what are we really fighting for? Let's pretend it's 2050 and half the cabinets in all the countries of the world are composed by women. What do we expect to change? Let's visualize that change and let's start working on it from now. Let's make bolder choices. Let's ask ourselves, what do we want the world to look like in 500 years from now? And let's join forces to build the foundation of a different world, not for our daughters, but for our great-grandchildren's children. Let's start thinking of ourselves as history makers. Because make no mistake, this is what we are doing here. We are making history. We better make it count. I will always root for women and girls who reach positions of power, but my heart belongs to the women and girls who feel in their bones a radical call to change power. Not to gain power, but to change power, we should apply for a job. Not to gain power, but to change power, we should ask for a promotion. Not to gain power, but to change power, we should start a new business. Not to gain power, but to change power, we should run for office. I will always root for women who break glass ceilings, but my heart belongs to the women who construct new buildings that have no ceilings for anyone. When they ask you, what's the alternative? Don't be afraid to say, I don't know yet, but I'm working to find it. The patriarchy had thousands of years to perfect itself. It's stupid to ask us to have a ready-made alternative. We need to try all sorts of things. We need to succeed, we need to fail, we need to trust our own eyes, our heart, our experience, and to be ambitious enough to know that all of our attempts, our experiments, our adventures are the building blocks of a radical revolution. One that will protect our planet and that will allow us all, women and men, to be fully human. Thank you.